4, 3.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it. Tomorrow.
Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks. There's no words there.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it. Tomorrow.
Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks. There's no words there.
I don't know. Fuck. 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 I don't know what. Go. I can't do it.
Fuck it.
Go. I can't do it.
Fuck it.
Go. I can't do it.
Fuck it.
Go. I can't do it.
Thanks again for watching.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it. Tomorrow.
Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks. There's no words there.
Fuck it.
There's no words on it. Tomorrow.
Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
I've never seen that.
Fucking thing sucks. There's no words there.
Okay. Ready?
Take it away.
Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah. Go. Yeah.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
We'll do it live.
Fuck it.
Go.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Go.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Go.
Fuck it. Fuck it.
Go.
Fuck it.
What does that mean? To play us out? To end the show? Yeah.
There we go. What the fuck is up, everybody? Hopefully the audio is working. We're getting a little glitchy already right off the bat. But hope everyone's with me here. So if you're here early, you already know what's about to happen. So first up, let's give away a pack of seats. You already know how we do it. First one going out today, Ice Cream Sunday. Sunday driver to bitch slap. We'll try close-up cam. This camera's giving me a little bit of fits today, but we'll see if she cooperates. Ooh, we are not where I thought we would be. Okay, there we go. Close-up cam. Yeah, you can't really read it for shit. So I'm just going to tell you about it. Ice Cream Sunday, folks. The way we're going to win this pack up for grabs. We're going to go ahead and email Dark Horse Genetics Live at gmail.com. The way you're going to win this pack, let's say, well, I showed the show to my mom last week, folks, and she said I say fuck too much. So I think we're going to try to pepper in as many fucks this week as we possibly can. And yeah, the way you're going to win this is send a email to, in the subject line, write Ice Cream Sunday, fuck it. First person to write that wins these seats. All right, folks, so what the fuck are we going to talk about today? Bruce Banner. I intend to interview a lot of guests on this show, and I don't really want to do solo shows or solo podcasts that often, but I know people want to know this story, the story of Bruce Banner. I've told it a few times, but we're going to put it out there once so that I can leave it up and the story will stay up there. The way I kind of want to tell it is I'm just going to tell sort of my story, sort of my journey through cannabis, and we'll just kind of go deep into the Bruce Banner, but it's been an interesting journey. So as I ask Daz and other people that you'll see when they come on the show, I kind of tell them to start where they in the beginning, So that's where I'm going to start, and I'm going to kind of just go through the start of my career, if you will, and then how we got to where we are here, and Bruce Banner's role in that. But we'll start up with I guess just my upbringing. I'm not going to get real deep and boring on all this shit, but I grew up 20 minutes south of here in Castle Rock, Colorado. It was a truck stop at the time. I had a Betty Crocker childhood. Everything was gravy. There was nothing wrong with that. I was an athlete or a jock, if you will. I was super into sports. So by the time that I got to like high school and was playing sports or whatever, that was my main focus. I certainly wasn't a stoner. I certainly didn't give a shit about weed, and up until midway through high school, somewhere around there. But something relatively dramatic happened in my life that shifted the outcome of my life, I would say, in high school, and that was when I got in trouble for changing all my grades. Is basically a Ferris Bueller situation. You know what I mean? Like at one point in my life, I got a Macintosh, and I was probably, this is, I don't even know the dates, but I want to say late 90s, but I was like almost addicted to the internet. I was one of the first people on like CompuServe and eWorld and then America Online. And I was probably like 13 or 14 years old or 15 years old, kind of in the America Online days or whatever. But I used to sit on that fucking thing all day. And I kind of figured out how to write programs, and we all considered ourselves hackers on America Online, where we would like write these one-click programs, write these software where essentially you could get someone kicked off of America Online. It was not hacking. It was really stupid shit. But I wrote this program in one click called AO Junk Mail. And then what it did was, at the time, America Online only allowed 500 emails at a time to go out to any one person's inbox. So I wrote this program called AO Junk Mail. So if you wanted to, you wanted to go after somebody, you would send their email into this program, and it would then give their email to a list of junk mail subscriber email chains, and it would fill your inbox like instantly. And it was one of the more popular hacker apps on AOL at the time. And I'm telling you, I was like, I could probably write code C++ and in QBasic and things like that before I knew anything about cannabis or anything related to that. But where that develops into is, I was in high school, and somehow our high school, this is when the iMacs first came out, and our high school had no security at all on their computers, and I didn't know shit about computers, but I knew enough to get a keystroke recorder. And this is not hacking, so all the real hackers out there, you can start laughing now. This isn't hacking. What I did, I put a keystroke recorder through the network onto the system administrator's computer, and I was able to obtain their password. I'll never forget the password. It's Artist Rogers. The name was J Rogers Artist 9 was the password. And what I was able to do from there was change all my fucking grades. So I stopped going to high school. I changed every grade that I wanted. I started charging kids to change their grades, and I eventually got busted. The way I got busted was, we had this lady called Granny Granis who used card catalog systems back then, and I was logging into the computer system and changing my grades, changing my address, my phone number, so there was no way to get a hold of us. And I remember Granny Granis sent or called my mother and said that I hadn't been coming to class and I had an F, and my mom told her, well, I just got a report card in the mail and it says you got a B+ and a positive attitude and good cooperation. So that's when I kind of got rolled up in that whole thing. They said, you need to come down to school to figure this out. And I remember, because I was at home. I wasn't at school. I was supposed to be in class. They were looking for me. I was at home. And that was a pretty dramatic shift, because that was the first time that I learned how an adult figure will kind of lie to you or manipulate the circumstances to get what they want. So I was basically put in school suspension, where they would take me into the office every day, and then they would sit me down and say, we know something's up with your grades. We don't know how you're doing it. We don't know what's going on. And I sat there playing dumb, like, you have a virus. There's no way that I don't know what's going on. But I would go home at night and delete the entire senior class out of the computer system. And then the very next day I would come in and change grades of people who I had no idea who they were. So I was trying to simulate some sort of erratic behavior, blah, blah, blah. They never could figure out how or why or what I was doing. And after 22 days of in-school suspension, the principal came to me and essentially said that, if you can tell us how you're doing this, we'll just give you this in-school suspension, and we'll let you walk. And it was weighing heavily on me that, I had to essentially lie to my parents and everything about it. So I came clean on how I did it. They brought in their network administrator, and I explained the path and using the keystroke generator, because they were changing their passwords, but I had the password every time they changed it. So I explained to them how I did it. For some reason, he couldn't really understand it. But what I learned right then was, they essentially lied to me, because they sent me back to class, and 20-30 minutes later they came down with like 5 sheriffs and basically perp walked me in front of my entire fucking school, and gave me like 4 or 5 felonies for unauthorized use of computer devices and computer hacking. And they put articles in the newspaper about I rewired fax machines, and I learned the media was full of shit at that point. You know what I mean? And I was just like, holy fuck, like, adults will lie, they'll twist things, they'll say things that aren't true. But I remember one thing about that is, I was changing grades for my friends like an idiot, and I knew that we were cooked. So I went to them and I told them, hey, they're going to call you down in the principal's office today, and they're going to ask you about your grades, and all you have to tell them is you don't know shit, and that it was a computer virus or something. And of course, I go down the second period. I get called down to the principal's office again for the 23rd day or 22nd day in a row or whatever. And they're sitting there, and it's the glass windows, and they're all pointing at me, and they're all mad, and they got angry looks on their face. And all that the principal did was walk into the room and say, "Hey, Jason's over there, spilt the beans about everything. We know what happened." And each one of them, you know, turned turncoat instantly because they got suckered by a principal who lied about what I had told them. So they're flipping me off, mad that essentially I was the one that ratted them out. But the thing is they didn't realize they just got done in by the principal. But long story short, that's when I kind of learned, like, holy shit, some of this, you know, people of power will fuck you around. Anyway, long story about that was they kicked me out of high school, but that without that happening in my life, I don't know that I would have went into cannabis as much as I did, because that was the end of my athletic career. And with my athletic career kind of ending, I just sort of like I went to a different high school, and I decided to come back to that high school, but it was weird because a lot of the people there, the teachers there, administration there, didn't really want me there. I was offered a job with their computer administration, but at the same time they were like grading my papers essentially harder. Like the teachers were, I just went ahead and got a GED and got the fuck out of there because I wasn't trying to do high school all the way to the end. And after that, I went on like a whoop tour, if you will. I was a huge fan of String Cheese Incident, so I decided to follow String Cheese, and I followed them city to city and sold bottled waters and grilled cheese and all that bullshit. I never had dreads. I never was a dirty fuck, but at the same time, like, I loved that lifestyle for a couple of years. It was about far away from the Betty Crocker lifestyle that I had growing up. So it was my rebellion to just go out and do that shit. Yeah, so I did this, you know, the dirty hippie thing for a couple of years, and it just sort of dawned on me, probably on some sort of, you know, LSD or mushroom trip on some show in some city. And I was just like, you know, I'm not going to do this rest of my life. I'm going to go to school. So I decided to go to Montana, University of Montana. They accepted me. So I headed straight up there to go to school. And I was a non-traditional freshman, had my own house. And I essentially, that's when I made the Bruce Banner. So here we get into Bruce Banner. Sorry for the nonsense about how we got to here, but this is where Bruce Banner comes into my life. So I'm growing at this point, and I'm not really, I'm a beginner. I'm learning off Overgrow, and I'm getting mentored by some people that know, you know, the business or know how to grow these plants. And I was on Overgrow when Reservoir Seeds was releasing these strawberry diesel seeds. Say what you want about Reservoir Seeds, but at the time he was putting out, you know, crazy seeds. People were going nuts to get them. It's no different than it is today with some other breeders, but this dude was going, you know, putting out stuff. So the auction that I bought these strawberry diesel seeds on was on Overgrow's auction page, which was called Seed Bay, yeah. And I bought the seeds, and I stayed up all night to buy them because it was over in Europe. And then when I clicked buy, the server crashed, and I was like, I have no idea if I won, if I didn't win, but I knew everybody, you know, on Overgrow was camping out to buy these fucking seeds. So when I bought the seeds, I woke up the next morning, and in the inbox it was like, you won the auction. And at that time I was like, oh shit, I got some really special seeds. Well, I had just been gifted the real OG Kush. Like at the time there wasn't 20 fucking OG Kushes. There was just one OG Kush. It was floating around. I got it in Boulder, Colorado from a good friend of mine. I don't want to drop his name on here because I don't know if he wants his name dropped, but I got it from a good friend of mine, and it was the real OG Kush. It was some of the best fucking weed I've ever smoked in my life. And I had that. I brought it back to college in Montana, and I had the strawberry diesel seeds. And I wasn't a breeder. I never considered myself a breeder. I just knew that I had something special in here. I started the strawberry diesel seeds, and I'm like, I got 3 or 4 males. I'm like, listen, I got to use these males because they're valuable, and I have this OG Kush, so my holy grail is strawberry Kush. So I'm just going to put these together and see what happens. I pollinated one branch with a different male, another branch with a different male, you know, repeat. And I did each breeding project separate in small batch. By the time that I finished that first batch or that first OG Kush plant that was seeded up, String Cheese was in Oregon at Horning's Hideout. And I was, you know, it was a break from college. So I decided, fuck it, we're going to run up here. And I ran up to the show where I knew tons of kids on lot. And I started passing out the flower of the OG because everybody wanted the OG Kush. But I was like, listen, guys, there's fire seeds in there. You have to get those seeds out of there and give them back to me because I made a special cross here and I want to see what's up with it. Most of the seeds, there was probably maybe 500 seeds. Most of the seeds were lost, destroyed, thrown away. No one really gave a shit. I did get a bunch back. But of the seeds, I probably, out of 100 seeds, maybe 150 seeds, this is kind of where we started with the Bruce Banner project. And we went through those seeds. In those seeds, we found 3 or 4 different phenotypes. We found a number 1, a number 4. I'm sorry, number 1, 3, 4, and 5. The 1 is more bland. It was like right down the middle. It was fucking a little bit of everything. I liked it a lot. It was great weed. But when you got to like the number 3, you were like, holy fucking shit, this thing is special. It had that kush, but it had that strawberry aftertaste, super potent. I knew it was fire the very first second I put my fucking lips to the pipe or whatever and hit it. And I was like, holy shit, this is some special weed. So I knew that one was great. And then we went on to the 4. 4 was unique, but it yielded so terrible that I didn't really want to keep the 4 phenos around. Like the 4 was good, but it wasn't by any means something that you would want to grow over and over again. And then we get to the 5, and the 5 was the strawberry dominant. 5 came out like golf balls, chunks of golf balls of strawberry, and that was a really interesting flavor because it wasn't too OG, but essentially over time we kept the 1, the 3, and the 5. And the way that, you know, when I was in Montana going to college, I paid my way through college myself with my plants. This is when you didn't tell anybody that you grew weed. You didn't tell anybody anything that you did at all. So the way I did it was I essentially, you know, I've seen Shawshank Redemption, and I saw this dude, like, you know, dig his way out, and I was just like, I have a crawl space that's 2-3 feet deep, and I could probably burrow in there another 3 or 4 feet. So I essentially carved out of my crawl space this little dungeon area where I made all my crosses and I did all the plants that I was messing with down there, and I kept it entirely secret from everybody. I never told a soul, you know, what I was doing, not anybody. And when I would go down to the bar, you know, shout out to the Top Hat in Missoula, Montana, when I sort of hang out down there. And when I go to the bar, you know, you would be so loud in your pocket or whatever that I was getting called out left and right everywhere I fucking went in Missoula, Montana. So it was just like, I was sort of known as the dude with fire weed, but I just played it off as, yo, I'm getting that weed somewhere. You know what I mean? But yeah, that certainly made me famous when you don't want to be famous in a town like that. And coincidentally, I had just kind of finishing up school as I come back to Colorado, and this is 2007 or so. And my friend got a marijuana card, and I was shocked that he got a card. For some reason, I thought that you couldn't get cards unless you, like, I thought it had something to do with backgrounds, or if you've been in trouble for weed or anything like that, you're not getting a weed card. But he got a card, and when he got one, I'm like, well, I'm going to try to get one. So I went and got a card, and there was maybe 3 shops in Denver, and I went up to this shop. I was back home from college, and I went up to this shop, and I was just like, walked in the door. It was like a textile shop and a printing shop, and then on the right you had to go through another door, and it was a dispensary, and the guy had purple weed for $60 an eighth or $70 an eighth, and I was just like, this weed is trash, dude. Like, I have better weed in my car right now. So I went home, and I formulated this fucking idea in, I don't know, 40 fucking minutes, and literally I came home and I wrote up a paper full of spelling errors that said, here's all my strains, $40 an eighth. I'll be your caregiver, and I'll do a delivery service. I put on a fucking suit, which is ridiculous, but I knew it would be ridiculous. I put on a suit and I went to Red Rocks, and it was Fish. Fish had just come back from their ban from Red Rocks. So I'm standing in Fish parking lot with a sandwich board with a big red cross on it and a marijuana leaf and a bunch of fucking papers saying, I'll sell you eighths for $40. I obviously had nothing on me because I knew I was going to get fucked with, standing in a suit. And I'm passing it out to all these wooks that are walking by me and explaining it. And they're all kind of like, this can't be real. Is this fucking real or whatever? Had it on a burner phone. After that 4-day weekend, I went home and there was 400 something messages on the burner phone, and it was off. So we took advantage of the idea that a bunch of people are smoking weed at Red Rocks, right? People don't believe you can get a card. You know, at that time, we were almost ambulance chasers because we followed doctors around to get people cards. And that merges into how we start the shop, because obviously we were caregiving. We had a fuck ton of patients. We were delivering all over the fucking city, and I have some good weed, but nothing, we had the Bruce banner, but I didn't really put it out in bulk. But I decided, we got to start the shop. And that kind of goes back to episode 2 when I explained, you've seen the Daily Show clip. That was the first store. It was called Delta 9. So there's the confusion between Delta 9 and Bruce Banner. Why people think Bruce Banner is from Delta 9, because Delta 9 was the name of my first store on Broadway when we opened our store. My first business was Delta 9. Ed Borg runs Delta 9 over in Europe. Really good dude. He's always been super cool about straightening out, who Bruce Banner is when people hit him up. But there's confusion there because I started a store called Delta 9. But as we started the store, it was interesting because the store, like I said earlier last episode, it was a $15 retail sales tax license. So if you had the balls to sell weed on Broadway, that's fucking what you did. You just let them hang, and you sold, sold weed on Broadway or whatever. And that store took off like fucking crazy. It was a consignment shop. We were one of 12 in this year, one of 20 probably in the state. So, I mean, that store probably grossed 1.7 mil in the very first year, and it smashed it. And I was just like, holy fuck, there's something special here. I didn't make 1.7 fucking mil. It grossed 1.7 mil. We certainly didn't net that or whatever, but because it was a consignment store. But things took off like crazy, and I was just like, holy shit, we certainly have something here. And I think we had at some point we had 20% of all patients in Colorado were shopping through our store. So, you know, in 2008 and 9, that's when the Daily Show called. That you see why they would call and where that took off from or whatever. But it was funny because in 2011, after we're really taking off, I had this theory that, you know, I'm not going to get into warehouses. All I want to do is grow basements because basements have better weed than warehouses. And I had 4 grow houses around the city, and I'm like, I'm going to produce lots of basements. Everyone's telling me, Jay, you need to get into warehouses, otherwise you're going to get fucked. And I was like, I'm doing basements. Well, I didn't listen to the advisors or whatever. And when 2011 came, they decided to put all these regulations in, and they made us partner up with grows, and the grows had to be in, there was all these grows and all these shops, and the grows were in warehouses and whatnot, and the shops were standing alone. So they made everybody partner up, which is the stupidest fucking idea I've ever heard in my entire life. We call them shotgun marriages. They gave us 90 days starting in July 1st in 2011 to either vertically integrate your store with a grow or shut it down. So you had to go, you know, try to be the prettiest girl at the ball to all these different grows or whatever. And that's when the fuckery started, you know. Like I said, shops are better in 2008 and 9, in 2010. 2011 is when the regulation came. They forced everyone into these shotgun marriages where you had to partner up with a grow. And I had 90 days to make a decision. And then the decision I made turned out to be a giant fucking mistake. I've told this story before. You know, I'm going to try to tell it again. I went a little bit too hard in the paint last time, so I'll try to keep names out of it this time so we can leave it up. But the fuckery of, you know, the end of Delta 9. And I guess, well, before I talk about the end of Delta 9, I got to talk about the release of Bruce Banner, because we released Bruce Banner for the first time to the public on Broadway there in Delta 9. And people went nuts for it, way beyond my expectations. They literally lined up on the street. No one had lined up for weed that I'd seen before. This is 2007. People were showing up. You know, we released it every other Thursday or Friday, something like that, because I could only produce so much and limited it to a quarter per person. People were lining up with fucking lawn chairs at 6 a.m. And I remember walking up to the shop, you know, at 9 a.m. going, what the fuck is going on? We can't have this. Like, the media is going to be here. There's going to be people, lines breed lines. And although it was cool as fuck, it made me nervous as fuck, because you got to understand the time frame was like, this is not, you know, this is not exactly, you know, totally okay out there. So I just didn't want to be drawing that much attention to myself. So we passed out, you know, little raffle cards, not raffle cards, but numbers to everybody, and said, come back at, you know, at 10 or 11 when we open, and we'll do it one at a time. But that built the legend of Bruce Banner. Without those people freaking out to get that strain, without the line forming, without it being so impossible to get, that was part of, you know, building up Bruce Banner. And I will say that there's some controversy around, like, was the clone stolen from me? Did it get out? Like, what happened with that? And to be honest, like, I ran a pretty tight crew. We were all pretty tight. And the way that it worked was, in my opinion, was I had the strain. I put it out as a flower in Delta 9 in Colorado. My thought was, like, we're going to run it for 2 years as ours. And after 2 years, I'm going to give it out at Christmas time. We'll start selling the clones. We basically made it just about that 2 years. I would say maybe a year and a half or whatever. I then started wholesaling the clone to other shops so they could sell it in their stores. And I remember I sold the clone for $1,000. I sold that clone for $1,000 per clone to shops. And I took so much fucking shit for it because people thought I was the biggest asshole in the world. And then we also decided to sell the clone shortly after to the general public for, I think it was $50 a clone. And we put it out, and that's where the banner kind of explodes. But there was a little fuckery involved, and I'm just going to be honest about it. Like, my crew sort of deteriorated towards the end when the regulations came. Some of my guys couldn't work in the shop anymore because they had, you know, charges, or they had something in their past where that wouldn't allow them to work in the shop anymore, and they got really upset about that. And it wasn't me, it was the regulations, the state, all the shit that came. And I had to essentially kind of throw a couple people out of the shop because they couldn't be in there. They were trying to hang out and work, treat it like a clubhouse when they didn't have, you know, they didn't have a badge. was like, you guys can't be in the back. You can't hang out here. You got to go. You know, times changed, and it was really hard on everybody. Some of those guys got mad, and they decided they were going to pass out the clone and try to destroy it, or try to destroy me or whatever with it. But it was stupid because all that did was make the clone even bigger and more legend. You know, I'll tell you one thing about clones is if you tell people they can't have it, then all they're going to do is want it really bad and pass it out like crazy. So if you want to fucking get a backwards reverse, you know, psychology way to sell fucking plants or clones, just tell people they can't have it for a year and they're going to lose their shit to get it. And it's kind of fucking stupid, but that was the release of Bruce Banner to the marketplace. And from there, it went way further than I ever would imagine. It's all the way across the world at this point. But an interesting story about the Delta 9, as I said, I would talk about it. It doesn't entirely tie to Bruce Banner, but we're going to talk about the U.S. Marshals real quick and how the U.S. Marshals ended up coming to our fucking shop and why at the fucking shop. The whole thing was super fucked up, but it goes a little bit back to last episode. I was talking about employees and hiring people and paying them correctly and all of that stuff. Well, I had an employee that came in from California who was working on farms and everything else, and super good dude. I love this dude to the day he dies. He's a super salt of the earth guy or whatever. He came in, wanted to work the shop, and I was like, you're hired. You know what I mean? So I put him on the books. And this dude hadn't been on any books in quite a while. He was an underground weed grower. And when I put him on the books, within 10 days of me, you know, putting him into the system and putting Social Security into the system and, you know, cutting him a paycheck, I noticed all these black fucking cars around the shop. And, you know, my cop radar is going through the fucking roof, and I'm looking and I'm going, what the fuck's up with this? I'm naive. I was like, they got to be there for across the street or something. But I remember them coming down the alley one day when I'm walking out to my car, and there's this, you know, total cop fucking slow rolling down the alley staring at me, and I'm going, this ain't fucking right. Something ain't good. And I'm thinking we might be getting rolled. Maybe it's the people across the street. I'm not entirely sure, but I actually looked exactly. I shouldn't say exactly. The kid that they were looking for was essentially a twin of mine. We had the same height, same body weight, same hair color, same eye color. So they were tailing me thinking I was him too, but I picked up on it quite, you know, right away. The fucked up part about it is they probably surveilled us for 3 or 4 days before anything happened. And we were kind of waiting for something to happen, but I just still didn't know what was up. And the dispensary acted as like a buffer zone. In a normal job, if you hire a guy, you work a taco stand and you hire a guy and he's wanted, you know what I mean? I imagine the U.S. Marshals walk in and say, hey, dude, you know, the guy you just hired is wanted. We need to pick him up. In this case, this is a federally illegal cannabis dispensary. They don't want to walk in my store. They wouldn't come in my store. They wouldn't, you know, they would drive around it. They would post up all of it, but they would not come in the fucking store. It's like they was kryptonite to them. So anything that's happening in the store was like home base. But as soon as you leave the store, they're all over you. So it was like, what the fuck's going on? And the way it played out in the end was, as my employees were leaving to go make a bank drop, the U.S. Marshals did like a felony stop on them in the middle of the street, in the middle of Broadway, shut the whole street down, had like 12 cars rush in on him all at the same time. And they pulled him out of the car. He had all the money for the bank deposit from the shop that day. And they called me and they were like, you know, what do we want to do with the money? We're taking this guy in. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm totally fucking confused here. And anyway, I ended up going and getting the money. They took him away. He went to jail for a while. They hit me up and they asked, I think it might be the first time in U.S. history, the judge hit me up. This is a federal judge. I was conflicted even fucking picking up the phone in my dispensary talking to a federal judge. He hit me up and he said, if I release him on a PR bond, can he have a job does he still have a job at your store? And I was like, if you want him to have a job at my store, I'll give him the job at my store. I'm certainly not firing him. But you want to talk about a really fucking weird ass situation where a guy is going before a judge for his review to get out of jail, and they're talking about he has a job at a dispensary. We're going to let him work there. And that might have been the first time in U.S. history it happened. He got out and we took him back in. It was kind of, you know, a little bit nerve-wracking, but trusted dude with my life. Ended up, he had to go do some time in Leavenworth. Super solid dude. I'm not going to talk about why he was wanted. It wasn't anything gnarly. It was weed related. He grew some weed and caught him with it and had to go to jail for a little bit. This is back in the day. But, you know, putting a guy on your books essentially could get, you know, serious attention if you have like a California farmer who hasn't been on the books for a long time, or somebody who's been wanted for years. This guy didn't even know he was wanted. He got pulled with a traffic stop, and you know they took some cash from him and sent him on his way. And years later, he had a conspiracy charge essentially for having what he had. And I was just sort of like, he had no idea it fucking existed because he's been off the books forever. No one knew how to find him. But that's the interesting story about the feds. And we'll bring it back into Delta 9 now. So as Delta 9's going and we did the shotgun marriage, I'm trying to figure out who to fucking partner with. And this guy approaches me. I'm going to keep his name out of it for the most part. But this guy approaches me and he's like, listen, Jay, we're going to give you 3 stores. We're going to bring 3 stores together. We're going to partner all 3 stores up. And we have, a couple of grows. We're going to build out however you want to build your grow. You're going to be in charge of the grow. We're going to be in charge of the stores. We're going to essentially bring all of it together in one group, and it's going to work out. And, I was one of the hotter stores at the time. So I'm 23 fucking years old. What do I know about this shit? And the guy hits me up and I say, fuck it, let's do it. So he drafts this paperwork on a yellow legal binder or yellow legal pad talking about this is the contract and whatnot, and sign, drafts it out. And my stupid 23-year-old ass goes ahead and signs it, which is supposed to give me 33% of 3 stores and the whole operation or whatever. And it didn't take long for the entire fucking thing to unravel really bad. Yeah, the way it kind of unraveled was this, and it's a super fucked up story, but it's, hand to God, this is true. People might not believe this fucking story, but it involves con men in Las Vegas and basically essentially a magic trick and how to steal $500,000 from a complete dipshit. So the way I ended up meeting this guy was, I'll give him this. He was hungry for it, but he figured out a way to make Craigslist post ads all across America saying that he has investors for marijuana businesses, and he was essentially fishing across the entire way to try to find investors and also find businesses. He had absolutely nothing, put no equity in anything. He just put out emails, and he found some guys in Chicago with some money, and those guys wanted to invest in what he was doing, even though he didn't own anything. So he approached guys like me and said, I'm going to take your store and we're going to build all this out, blah, blah. He did have control of one grow in Denver. And I remember him coming to me and saying, Jay, don't worry about what you want to build. Whatever you want to build, we'll design it out for you. We'll build it no matter what. You just come up with your Taj Mahal and we're going to build it. And I remember kind of looking at him like, well, are you sure you can afford to do this? You're talking a little bit crazy. I've heard shit like this before. But he was really confident in that he was going to be able to have as much money as possible. Money will not be a problem, because I remember the famous words. And as it panned out, everything collapsed quickly. They didn't have any money. They couldn't build anything. They did, he essentially tried to say that my store, I signed it over to him for free, and that I made a bad business decision in doing that, and that he didn't owe me anything, and his store was his for free, and that's it. Have a nice day. But I got this, before it was officially over, I got this call to go to Chicago and meet with these investors that had invested in this group. And I don't really know why I'm going. Like I say, I'm a 23-year-old basically dipshit, and I go down to this meeting in my fucking sweatpants. It's across from the Sears Tower on the 100th floor or some shit overlooking Chicago. And I walk in and it's the I don't want to say exactly who, but just say family of the Attorney General of Chicago and some serious power players or whatever, and all their suits and fucking dappered all up. And I'm going, what the fuck is this? I sit down and they say, tell us about Las Vegas. And this guy proceeds to fucking tell this story of which it actually is true, of how he decided that he was going to take his last crop. This is before regulation, so there really wasn't much rules on how you sold your product. So I'm not really outing him, but he decided to sell his last crop in Denver, which is 100 pounds or something, roughly around 100 pounds. But it was a warehouse that we were essentially supposed to be part of this deal. So he takes this 100 pounds out, basically sneaks it out and sells it, and he takes the cash and he goes to Las Vegas. Now, he spends 2 or 3 days in Las Vegas cashing all the money into $1 bills because he had met this cat a week or 2 or a month before in Vegas who showed him, let me show you how to wash a $100 bill. This is his story. And so the guy takes out what essentially is a magic trick and puts a one in there, washes over like a credit card type or old-fashioned credit card type thing over it 3, 4, 5 times, pulls it back out and shows him it's a $100 bill now. This fucking moron falls for this shit hook, line, and sinker. Spends 3 days turning all his bills into ones. Meets the dude at the Mirage with suitcases full of fucking duffel bags full of cash, and pops it on the bed and says, I'm gonna go get lunch. She'll be back in half hour. Walks out the room, goes to get lunch, comes back in a half hour, and of course the guy's fucking gone. There's no way that dude was gonna wash that money into hundreds or whatever the fuck it was. But this was Captain Dipshit's genius idea of how he was gonna fucking fund his marijuana business in Denver and yeah, don't even get me started. So I'm sitting in this fucking high rise in Chicago, and this dude's talking about what happened to the money and the investment and the weed and the capital and all this other shit. And I'm like, I have no idea what these dudes are talking about. And whoops, the guy decides to kind of tell the story or whatever. And they turn to look at me and they're like, Jason, what do you know about this story? And I was just like, I don't know fucking anything about this. I have grinning and laughing. I was like, that's fucking incredible. And I was like, I tell you what, I was like, I have no fucking idea, but I'm excusing myself from this bullshit because I'm not putting up with this anymore. I have no idea what the fuck these people are into, but I'm out. I want my store back. I'm out. And I literally just walked out of the deal or whatever, in my fucking sweatpants, all these fancy pants, whatever's. And this guy afterwards comes up to me and he's like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with these people. He's like, but I don't trust them at all, but I trust you. He's like, here's my number. Let's go eat dinner tonight. Went and ate a nice ass steak with this guy, a really nice gentleman. And I kind of forgot about it. You know what I mean? I go back to Colorado, and I remember this dude takes me to a public place, and he kind of sits me down, and he tells me, I'm taking control of your store. There's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to keep the money. And I was just like, wow, like you essentially stole this store from me. You did absolutely nothing. You stole my store. I never got anything I was supposed to get out of the deal. And at this time, there was no help. You know what I mean? I never sued anybody. I don't know how to fucking sue anybody. And the reason he did it in public was he knew I was probably going to give him a knuckle fucking sandwich over the thing. I was just like, why are you fucking serious? And so I proceeded to do a 2-year fucking, lawsuit, which sucked. It really did. But I'll say this much. When you have a guy who's such a scumbag like that, the lawyers will work for free because they see a payday in it and they know that they'll take a lot of your money, but they will work for free. But dude got away with it. He did get the store. And essentially I got, a measly payout for it, and it costs a lot of money in lawyers to go through that experience. But call it the best college experience you could go through. I was so dejected, so depressed, so pissed off after this fucking happened that I was just like, there's no way that I'm fucking being a weed. I thought everybody in weed was a complete fucking scumbag. So I moved to Hawaii, sat on the beach, stared out on the fucking water for months and months, bought a little piece of land, and I was getting ready to build something out there. And I actually heard about this guy that ripped me off was, continuing to rip other people off, and it just pissed me off a lot. So I decided to fire off an email one night to the actual investor group in Chicago about, what had happened to their money. And they came back, not even what had happened to their money, but my experience with, this guy and how he screwed me and how I had to sue him and how I never got anything out of the entire deal. And I'm dejected by it. And they got back to me immediately, like, we're in a class action lawsuit against this dude. I'm like, do you want to do a statement for us or an affidavit against what happened for you? And I was just like, interesting. I didn't really want to get involved in all that bullshit, but at the same time, this was personal to me. You tried to steal my fucking company, and I had just gotten a tattoo of a knife in my back that said Delta 9 on the handle, and I was just like, I had been fucked, and I just didn't really want to proceed in it. But I kind of told this guy, like, look, I'm not going to do any of this stuff. And the guy came back to me and he's like, listen, I need a horse in this race. I don't have a horse in this race. I believe in it. I don't trust any of these motherfuckers, but I trust you. So when you talk about how to get an investor, a guy asked that last episode, how do you get an investor? My investor found me in the sense that he believed me. He trusted me. I wasn't full of shit. I shot straight. All you have to do is not fucking lie out your goddamn ass. And it worked out. But he essentially came to me, and I turned him down like 4 times in a row. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not getting back into this thing. This thing is full of assholes and scumbags, and I'm not interested in going back in that game ever again. And he essentially got me with, here's a blank check, whatever you want to do. And I, in my head, thought about, well, I have Bruce Banner. I should probably do a seed company. I would like to do a seed company. I would like to put out Bruce Banner in a back cross form in seed, share that all across the world. Maybe this guy will help me do the seed company, but I wanted to do it legally. I don't, so I was like, let's do the legal seed company in Colorado. There's not a lot of legal seed companies in metric, sell seeds, create genetics in metric, put them out for people in Colorado. So that's where the dawn of Dark Horse Genetics comes from, is the guy hits me up and says, hey, I need a horse in this race. And I was so fucking pissed off about the entire thing that I didn't really want to come back. And that's why I named it Dark Horse Genetics. Because it was like, look, I was supposed to be out. I was supposed to be ripped off, kicked down, screwed over. I wasn't supposed to come back because the people that run this shit now are fucking corrupt assholes left and right. And I didn't think I fit in here. I didn't want to be in here. So I was just like, fuck it. If I'm coming back, I came out super angry. I think it was a mistake, honestly. I came out of the gates ready to go hot. Like I I was ready for people. I was not ready for success. I was not ready for people to like our company or our products. I thought the whole world is going to troll, like all people don't want me in this business. Like it took a lot mentally to come back into the fold after being totally dicked around and totally lied about and totally, the internet's an interesting fucking place. I'm not scared of the fucking internet, but it's not written in pencil. And these fucking people believe the dumbest shit. And the thing is like the whole thing was a maturing experience for me because, like I said, when I came out of the gate, I was more like, anybody who wants some, come get some, because I know what I need to know. I'm pissed. I'm coming back for revenge. And the thing is I didn't, the customers didn't give a fuck about my revenge. The general, community didn't give a fuck about me. They didn't know the story. They didn't know that I wanted to come back and I wanted to get back in the business and, and essentially prove the people wrong that tried to destroy me and come back and be stronger. And, I was young. I was 23, 24 years old. As I sit here 10 years fucking later, it's just, I don't know. I'm proud that we're back and that I fought back to get back in the game. But it's interesting how, this business will eat you up and shred you out, man. Like it literally will fucking eat you up and shred you out. I will say that I would not be where I am today without all of those fucking experiences, man. Like those experiences essentially built me into the person that I am. The character that I have led me to where I am. Like that's all I can essentially say about it is don't be a fucking bullshitter in this business, because you will be exposed eventually. And if you're going through something where some guy's trying to fuck you around, doing some super unethical shit, trying to steal your company or steal your business or anything else, the only thing I can tell you is in the end, it will all, I don't want to say all get corrected. In the end, the truth will all come out about it. And that's the only thing I can say is the truth always comes out in the end. And people can spin things, people can lie about things and try to, manipulate situations. But in the end, it all will come out what the story really was, who it was. And I don't want to get deep into what happened to all those people, but let's just say everyone went Chapter 11. All those fucking people went bankrupt. They're not in the business anymore. They don't deserve to be in the fucking business anymore. I know about their personal lives. It did not go well for them as far as, everything fell apart in their lives because they wanted to be over aggressive and greedy and steal other people's shops. And it just doesn't work like that. You don't really get to climb the ladder in a career by stealing it. You have to do the fucking work. But yeah, I feel like I'm fucking rambling at this point. That sort of is the story of me and how I got to here and how I am Dark Horse Genetics, how I started it, how I got to Delta 9, where I am now. Questions about Bruce Banner? We have a few minutes left on this live, so I want to show, if I can show something real quick. We'll talk about some flowers. Let's see if I can't make this work. There we go. So here's the High Times. I'm not sure if you can see it on the screen. Here's the High Times award that we just got. This is pretty cool. I grew up like reading this fucking magazine. The fact they put us in the 45 greatest strains of all time, really fucking cool for me. Super big honor. I'm just, I never in a million years thought that would be talking about Dark Horse Genetics and Bruce Banner #3 in High Times magazine and featured in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, here's another shot. I just want to show. We'll stay on here. Here's Crondon. Crondon grows. If you don't follow this dude, you should be following this dude. Probably one of the best fucking growers I've ever seen. Like this dude just murders it, man. But look at that Bruce Banner. The colors, the flavors and the colors that come out of this plant. It's amazing. Let's take another look. He does such good work, dude. I could stare at Crondon's plants all fucking day long. But his Cron_Don_grows. But one of the best growers I've ever seen in my life. Does an amazing job with Bruce Banner. High Times again. This is interesting. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it says, but in the end, we fucked it all up. It should have been so sweet too, but it turned out to be the last time that street guys like us were ever given anything that fucking valuable again. This shit hits so hard for me because it's just like this is weed. This might be the movie Casino, but this is weed. Like the street guys had it. and it was taken from us, and it's like a kick in the dick. This here, bouncing around here. This here, Bruce Banner back cross number 2. So we back cross the banners. So I'll talk about that briefly. The original Bruce Banner, my different variations of banner in seed form. So we did Bruce Banner, the 1.0, the 2.0, and 3.0, which is a back cross into the 3. And we stabilized it out to F3. But I did notice in the F3, my potency was dipping. It's known as the strongest strain on Earth, at 1 high times strongest strain on Earth. So I didn't want to put out a strain that wasn't quite 28% THC or whatever. I wanted to make sure it stayed high in the THC. So I reset that entire fucking project. I went back to the F1 and I used a different strawberry diesel male, and I hit that to the Bruce Banner 3 again, and it created original Bruce Banner. And that's where we are right now, is sort of working on the original Bruce Banner line, trying to keep the THC up while keeping the characteristics of Bruce Banner through the back cross line. But we've worked the 3 extensively to this point. We are working on FEMs. People are asking about FEMs. I will be putting out Bruce Banner 3 FEMs before the end of this year. Mark my words, it's coming. We did a Banner 5 work. We've done a Gamma Berry, which is another. I just use the 5 as the donor to the strawberry diesel again. It's basically Bruce Banner, but I call it Gamma Berry because I'm focusing on the number 5 phenotype, or the more strawberry phenos. That's the gist on like the back cross work that we've done this far. I've only been working on it 4 or 5 years, to tell you the truth, as far as back crossing. So there's plenty of work still to be done. Anybody that wants to know how to buy seeds, I don't know if we've ever really covered this, but seedbazaar.com, simple as this. You click it, shop, buy all, buy your seeds. It's not hard. But yeah, this is probably my favorite site, because I shouldn't say favorite. I love all my vendors, but this site is a nonprofit co-op. So all the money here goes back to the breeders. All of it. This website makes no money. Yeah, free shipping. So I like the Seed Bazaar a lot. Check them out if you don't know about them already. Getting toward the end. Let's give away some more shit. If you hung with me through all of that shit, I'm going to reward you with some pretty dope fucking giveaways here. So let's get it fired up. Hold on one sec. All right. What are we going to give away? I have another calendar. You guys want a fucking calendar? So this shit, Attitude Seed Bank Calendar 2020. Super dope. Yeah. Dark Horse is featured in it. I'm pretty stoked. Month of June, which happens to be my birthday month. So yeah, pretty fucking cool. Let's see if I can find it. There's June. Yeah, you guys need this calendar. Any like real grower is gonna want an Attitude Seed Bank calendar. Check this shit out. Bruce Banner, June. Yeah. So you want to win this calendar? How are we going to do it? Dark Horse Genetics Live at gmail.com. First person to email me with the word Attitude Seed Bank in the subject line wins this calendar. How about a little bit more? What else we want to give away? Let's do a fucking hoodie. I only have one hoodie left. Again, this is for the petite ladies out there. This is a ladies small, European, so it's even small for a lady small. But this is a hoodlum. These are fucking sweet. Dark Horse Genetics hoodlum. Yeah, embroidered all up. Like I said, I have one left after this one. Or no, this is the last one. I take that back. So last hoodie going out. If you want this Dark Horse hoodlum, again, for the petite ladies, because it is ladies small, where you need to get one for your lady. How about you email darkhorsegeneticslive@gmail.com. Ladies hoodlum. Ladies hoodlum. Go. We're making this shit fucking easy. Go. More seeds. Seeds going out. Seed bonanza. All right. Weapon X. Weapon X. Giving out this Weapon X. I'm not going to go small cam, because small cam seems to be fucking up today. It's not that great. Weapon X. If you want to win this pack of Weapon X, how are we going to do it? How about Sorry Mom? Sorry for all the fucks, Mom. Sorry Mom. Dark Horse Genetics Live, gmail.com. Put Weapon X in the subject line. Sorry Mom. Boom. Go fast. Quick. Last week there was like 300 people trying to win shit. So if you're smart, you got that shit pulled up and you're ready to go. Last one. Symbiote. My man over here gets fucking pissed when I say symbiote, although either pronunciation is technically correct according to Webster Dictionary. Bruce Banner backcross, the bitch slap. These are super hot. These are fire. You want this? Let's go with hit up bitch slap. Symbiote bitch slap, because that's the father of this. Symbiote bitch slap. And the same email, darkhorsegeneticslive@gmail.com. So yeah, that pretty much is all I have to talk about this week. I didn't really get any comments. I don't know if I blew past shit that, you know, my life story. I don't really like talking about myself. So in the future, we're going to be talking to other people. I want to do this one time, put it out there. Yeah, actually tomorrow, I believe Stone Ninja, who's in the Twitch chat right now, is going to be a guest on this show. So we might do multiple shows. Actually, we're probably going to do multiple shows since I have a bunch of friends coming to town. So tomorrow we're going to do another quick show. And I believe Friday we're going to try to get Mosca's ass in here and talk to Mosca. So we're going to bring you the heat as far as breeders and people I want to talk to. I want to learn their stories. But yeah, questions, go ahead and fire away. I'm going to fire up this joint and give you guys a few seconds. I think there's only a few minutes left on this live. So go ahead and fire off any questions if I can see them. How many minutes?
8 minutes before it'll cut you off.
8 minutes left till they're going to cut me off. Questions. I'm seeing thumbs up and hearts and shit. I don't see a ton of questions. I'll look at the YouTube and Twitch real quick if anyone's on there also. Let me check it real fast. Where'd the name Cold Creek Kush come from? Good question, dude. I don't. It's not Cold Creek Kush. So the story on Cold Creek Kush is OG Kush is the same cut we all fucking had. A lot of people call it 92 OG or just the OG, but it's the same cut. And I believe it became Cold Creek Kush when Adam Dunn took it to fucking Amsterdam and entered in a Cannabis Cup and won with it. Then hit it to his MK Ultra and started calling everything Cold Creek Kush. Or he started calling it Cold Creek Kush. Why he didn't want to call it OG, I guess you have to ask them guys. But Cold Creek is a creek in Boulder that it's like right next to a golf course or whatever. But it's a geographical reference to Boulder, Colorado. What do you see good for 2020 as far as genetics? My theory with genetics right now is backwards is forward. So enough of fucking wedding cake to everything, and you know the Mac and the to everything, and the even Skittles to everything. And it's like we sort of have to go backwards to go forwards because we've backcrossed everything into sour or OG or Chem, or you know it's like it's getting too familiar. I would like to go backwards to go forwards. So I think the first person to go backwards and work land races, or you know, long like Good Heart sativas or unique terps that come from a land race base, that's probably the dopest future we have. But no, do I predict? Fuck tons more of the same. How long does it take to stabilize a strain? What are the steps? I mean, stabilizing a strain is, some people will say take it to F4 is the steps, but truly you got to go beyond that to stabilize a strain. But essentially all you're doing is round by round as you F1, F2, F3, F4, whatever, you're looking to make sure you're not breeding forward any intersex traits at all, and you're only working with the selected phenos that you're trying to move forward, the expressions you're trying to move forward. And if you do that, you know, by the end of the thing, by the end of your project, it's big X, little x. It's, you know, 8th grade science where you're trying to breed out all the big X or breed out all the little x so that you get to a stable, you know, seed form. Any more questions? I think we're down to the last few minutes. I think we literally have seconds left on this live. So now would be your question, or chance to ask a question. What's my favorite cross I've ever done? Honestly, the Thanos right now. I've loved these fucking, or the Savage Hulk. Probably my 3 favorite strains of all fucking time is Skittles, Dosey, and Banner, you know what I mean, or OG Cushion there. But when you put all three of those together, is like sort of my holy grail coming together. Thanos, I love this kosher that I have. It's 36%, and we hit it to the Skittles, and just comes out so candy, cushy. It's great. Best environment for bringing out high THC levels in Kimberry D. So I'm going to tell a quick legend if this lasts long enough. So the story with high THC, take this if as a wise tale. So the Sherpas, you know, in Nepal used to still do climb the mountain to get their cannabis or whatever, and the higher they climb, the stronger the THC is the legend. So the Sherpa who climbs the highest has the best weed was the story. And the idea, or my personal theory on that, is the higher you are in elevation, or the closer to the sun you are, the trikes on a plant is its resin block. We were out alive, so cut the live, folks. But I'll edit this in the last one. But yeah, the closer you are to the sun, essentially is when you get better THC. So it acts as a sun block. The sun block is, in theory, like going to make you higher THC. So if you're trying to create the highest THC, more UV rays in your indoor garden, potentially. UV can also fry the fuck out of your plants, so careful with that one. But yo, we are off the live, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign this sucker off. I appreciate everybody for tuning in this week, and same bat time, same bat channel next week. Appreciate it. Peace.